All right, good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday, the 26th. We've got right around 45 degrees, rain showers, 50 later on today with rain, more showers tonight and 43. Wednesday, tomorrow, clouds to start, and then it'll be clearing up in 54 degrees for the daytime high. Right next to me, one of the busiest and most high-profile individuals of our community. I think that's what I referred to you as earlier this morning. Yep. Chris Hennessey, the superintendent of the Barre Unified School District. What a mouthful.
That is a mouthful.
Can we just simplify that and make it just Barre Superintendent? Can we just say that?
I that's typically how I answer the phone.
Yeah.
I don't put all those U's in there.
Too many U's.
It's too many U's. And the community should know that is something on the list that we're going to really try to get a better name for the district.
Are you kidding?
On the list.
You're not kidding.
I'm not kidding at all. and there are a lot of districts who have those kind of long, what is it? Unified, Union Unified.
Too much.
It's too much. So we're going to work that. It's on the list.
And then you combine that with Hennessey, Hennnes, 3 N's, EY, IEE. I mean, come on. We can't have that.
It's a little much. My mom gave me a name with 21 letters, Christopher Hennessey. No middle name, but yeah, it's a mouthful. I admit we're going to work on getting that better.
Sherilyn said to me this morning, tell Chris that if he wants to pack it up and not be the superintendent anymore, that his name would make a perfect country star name.
All right.
I mean, come on, Chris Hennessey. He's on tour right now.
I want you guys. It's important to know that all my students back in the '90s loved that last name too, and that was really cool. It had a lot of cachet in the hip hop community.
Yeah.
And, whatever works. And it's all in a name.
It is an absolute honor to have you here. I know that you're crazy busy right now. Obviously, this is not going to be a super formal discussion with you. We're just kind of breaking down what's going on, who you are, a little bit about you. Yep. You live in Montpelier.
Yep, I do.
Wife?
Yep. I am divorced, but I have a partner, a former Spalding teacher who loves this community too. She's an educator still.
Wow.
And we have a really tight family, and it definitely helps.
Any kids?
Days. Yep, I have twin 19-year-old daughters that a lot of folks in the Barre community might remember.
Yeah.
When I was the assistant principal at Spalding High School, I brought to all the events. They knew the girls well. We all went as a family.
Now, their 16th birthday was especially memorable for you because as you were celebrating your daughter's birthday, you were also celebrating pretty much a phone call that had just come into you, right?
Exactly. We were at, that is a great memory, JD. I was, at that time, taking the girls out for dinner in Montpelier with Mom, and we were having a great night, and I got the call that I was going to be joining, returning to Barre as the principal at Barre City Elementary Middle School. And some stuff that people, if they don't already know it about me, I hope they can tell in all my interactions with them. This community means a lot to me.
Yeah.
And, I've been an educator for 33 years. Just slightly under half of that has been in this community.
Yeah, wow.
As a teacher, administrator, multiple roles. So it feels really good to be here.
So let's talk about this resume. There's Montpelier in there. Can you? So basically, late ’90s.
Yeah.
You hightail it out of New Mexico and come to Vermont.
Yep.
And what happened?
Yeah. So my family is from, my mother's family is from Vermont, and since I was a kid, I wanted to live up here. I grew up in Massachusetts, and my wife and I lived out in New Mexico. Started our teaching careers out there. We actually started in Boston. That's where we worked in the inner city, and always wanted to be in Vermont. I got my first shot at a public school job in Vermont from Lyman Amston, one of my predecessors, a longtime superintendent and community member here in Barre, father, grandfather of many Spalding kids. A guy I respect about as much as anybody I encountered in my career. He gave me my shot, and I was ran the alternative programs at Spalding High School.
Yes.
Had an interlude at Harwood that was wonderful. My family was over in the Mad River Valley, and ended up back here at Spalding as an assistant principal, and it's been kind of that's been my path since, and I love it.
Now, of course, I want to ask you, and if there's something you can't answer, that's fine. We have great respect for that. But what happened with David Wells?
Well, that's a tough one. I mean, what I can say is, Mr. Wells moved on late in the school year last year. And look, I think the best way to put it, this isn't an easy job. And one of the things that I think, that would be an understatement, one of the things that I think I've loved the most about it in these 4 months is, and I can't imagine doing it without this, but I've got a connection to the community. I know people here. Right behind me is Nelson Hardware, Beauvair's, local institutions. I was able to watch your show with one of my former students, Craig Leibold, last week. Yeah. It was an incredibly powerful thing to see. I think it really is a benefit to have somebody in a role like this who's having to deliver lots of bad news, JD. I mean, let's be real. That's what a lot of it is, but people.
Yeah. We just checked the line of folks waiting for your job, and we just checked a few minutes ago. There's no one there.
It's going to be interesting. Honestly, I think we're worried about that all over the state, if not the country. Working in schools these days is very challenging. More so, I can't even describe how different it is from, say, when I started 30-something years ago.
Yeah.
It's always been challenging.
It's a completely different planet. And social media is, I think all the time, about my little 6-year-old girl and social media when I was growing up, what it was like, and just how different the platform that I had as a kid, that you had as a kid, was what we could see and hear and touch that was right in front of us. It was the world that we lived in, our day-to-day. And now there's two different planets. There's the social media planet, which comes into play and rewires and reprograms everyone's heads.
Literally. And
biologically.
I think I just had the opportunity to spend a weekend in Maine. My daughter goes to the University of Maine, and I met some friends there, and we went up and took her and some friends out to dinner. And it is a very different college scene too. I think this has had an impact on all aspects of society. When we were kids, JD, I'm assuming we're in the same age, give or take, we really needed each other. We needed each other socially. We needed each other in person, face to face.
Absolutely.
Right? For the good, the bad, but it helped us with relationships and all that. Now it is so different. And I don't think the need's any different. We still need each other in that way.
Yeah.
But just for kids especially, little guys.
The little kids.
And then it has that impact going into middle school and high school about how do we connect with each other.
Yeah.
That, hey, I'm worried about it.
That's
I am.
right.
I think we all need to be.
Vermont news this morning. It's right here in front of me, and I'm going to read it. State legislative leaders are demanding that Governor Phil Scott declare a coronavirus emergency in Vermont. Lawmakers were joined by healthcare workers, teachers, and others yesterday in calling for Scott to address rising virus rates. The state has been averaging over 200 new coronavirus cases a day in the last week. The lawmakers and other stakeholders are urging Scott to implement broad virus mitigation requirements to get the spike under control. What in the hell is going on?
Yeah, it's... First of all, I don't envy Governor Scott on this. I don't envy him and what the pressure that he's getting to a much smaller degree. I can empathize, but
press conference at high noon today. I forgot. I just want to interject.
That's right. That will be an important one because I think that pressure is growing. I candidly am not so sure what it would do. What I do know is the pressure from school folks is coming pretty hard and fast, though, about needing more support at the state level. What that support would look like, I think, in fairness, they're looking at the same dilemma as we are in terms of it's not necessarily a money issue, JD, it's a people issue. We are just struggling to get the people needed to help us get through this crisis right now. And it's the same thing at the state level. I think where a lot of this is coming from, and I am looking forward to that press conference today. I read the article in the Times-Argus this morning. The pressure is coming from the fact that schools are looking for more backup and support in making these hard decisions. I know in Barre, we've been hit particularly hard with COVID and especially the impact it's having on our schools. We're on our own to a large degree. Our nurses are, our principals are. I sometimes feel that way as well. I've got Secretary French and his team joining us on Thursday. A number of our school board members, myself, we've really pushed hard to get him in to come and see what we're dealing with. And to his credit, the man is coming to join us Thursday.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot.
It is a lot. And as a superintendent, I can't imagine having the amount of responsibility. You have to talk to administrators. You have to talk to parents. You have to talk with older kids, middle kids, super young kids. You've got to be a one-man band.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm fortunate because I don't feel that way. I have very good professional and in some cases decades-long personal relationships with our principals here in Barre.
Yeah.
That helps a lot,
Sure.
To say the least. And a lot of our teachers, I've worked in 2 of the 3 schools. And, I think what we're all trying to do, and this sometimes sounds corny when I say it, but we're trying to come from a place of empathy. I'm always trying to remember and think about what would this be like when my kids were little. You said you have a 6-year-old, right? You have a 6-year-old now. Like
her whole kindergarten mask.
Yeah.
Can't see other friends and teachers smiling. Facial reactions.
Yeah.
I mean, whoa!
And having to send these kids home for with contact tracing and the quarantining.
I know. And then the disappointment in August, learning that when they're going to be going back to school, we're going to have to wear masks again. I mean, there was a celebration in the spring that we get to take the mask off all summer, and next year we won't have to wear the mask at school.
I remember it well, and we had this was right when I was sort of unofficially starting this job, and it was like, okay, I'm so new to this, learning this on the fly, but at least we're going to be out of the COVID weeds. We all were thinking that.
Of course.
And then in the summer, I don't know if your little girl participated in the summer programs, we had a couple cases pop up.
Yes, we did.
In July, right off
Waterbury.
Right out of the gate. We had a couple in Barre. We had a bigger thing up in Waterbury. Like, uh-oh. And then it just started to get away.
Well, we started hearing the word Delta.
Yep. And then we were always thinking, and this is across the state, I feel safe to say this, that Vermont's got it. We've been on top of this from the get-go. We're going to be okay. But it has hit us hard, and to say otherwise would not be being honest. And that's sort of been the hallmark of how we've tried to communicate with the community, with our colleagues, with the school board, with everybody. We got to be transparent and honest about this, and it's. It hasn't always been easy, honestly, because a lot of the information we're getting is on the fly. And we've had to get a better handle on, really, what are these case numbers compared to our neighbors and around the state? How are they impacting us differently?
You would be so busy, Chris, even without COVID. I mean, the superintendent.
All of us would be.
But dealing with this has been, I would guess, just a major time occupier and a distraction from all of the other things that you have to deal with that have nothing to do with COVID.
I think about all the time. I was a teacher for 17 years, and at the high school and middle school level, and just thinking about being a young teacher now and trying to figure this out with kids absent a lot, with trying to deal with the pressures of candidly being super understaffed in our schools and having to double, triple duty as like a 23, 24-year-old teacher. I think I had the resiliency then to suck it up and make it work.
Yeah.
Because I worked in inner city situations. It was tough. I mean, I've had stressful, tough jobs since I've been a kid.
Yeah.
This is a different level because a lot of it feels out of our control.
Sure.
And
but
so
relatability with those with your teachers, with your staff is massive. You literally can say,
it helps.
Been there, done that.
Do it every day.
Yeah.
Do it every day. And from the parent angle, JD, that is by far the hardest. I mean, just last night we had a couple cases up at Barrytown, and that we have to send those emails home to families.
Right.
Like, look, your kid was a close contact. You're gonna have to be out these X days or get tested. These things. We don't take it lightly when those go out. It hurts us to our core. Folks immediately get frustrated, upset, and we have to understand why. Think about the impact this is having on families, work life, and we don't even get into the child's education, right?
Yeah.
All three of those things. So
and their mental health. There's mental health, and then there's education. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
And then you've got parents that are stressed out because they need to take X amount of time off from work. Their employers are frustrated. I mean, everyone's frustrated.
Perfect storm.
And quite honestly, I mean, everything is Chris Hennessey's fault.
Yeah, I haven't felt that way. That look, this community. I can't say enough. We've been hit hard, all right? There is no doubt about it. Barre City and Barrytown, those younger kids who aren't eligibly vaccinated, they've been hit hard. Their families have. And, there have been people upset, I'm not going to lie to you. But when I think about what some of our my colleagues are dealing around the state, Barre is largely stepping up. And I get it. We're going to have some people angry and frustrated. But we've been able to talk, and
there's some and talking and commonality is what's going to be the glue that keeps us all together. But there's so many things to be frustrated about, and a lot of parents
have nothing to do with school.
Yeah, right. We're mandated to wear masks in school, but on the weekends, outside or after school, outside of school,
that's a hard thing. That's a hard thing because the schools, and I think this goes circling back around to your news update you just gave about Governor Scott's conference later. I mean, I will be straight up with folks here who are listening and watching that the schools do feel under pressure to kind of carry a lot of the load right now.
Yeah.
We're among the very few places in our society, in our community, where there are lots of rules you got to follow. Kids got to follow them. And as soon as they leave our door at 3 o'clock, we don't know what...
They want to purge.
Of course they do.
Everyone does.
Of course they do. Think about shooting hoops with your buddies after school inside, and so we're pushing hard to get everybody to do the right thing, but we can only control what we can control.
That's right.
And so we do what we can. It's at the school level, and it's it's a lot.
I mean, the teachers, the first responders in our community, LNAs, nurses, doctors, these people are amazing. I have massive amounts of respect for educators, even on their absolute worst day and worst moment. I mean, they're human beings, and they could pull the plug and say, I'm out of here. I'm retiring, or I'm changing careers. But the ones that are still hands on the wheel,
every day answering the bell. Every day.
Unbelievable.
Every day. And, I think you bring up the whole, gee, I don't know if I can do this anymore. That is a worry. It's a worry going into this year. I mean, a lot of our colleagues and families, too, are feeling like, what? It's only late October?
Right.
And that's not how you want to approach a school year.
Right.
Educators are by their very nature, we're idealists. Yeah. We're optimists, I'm going to switch back around to the first show I saw yours with Craig Liebold here. Craig, if you're watching this, there are a lot of people rooting for you, friend, and that took a lot of guts. And this is why we do what we do.
Yeah.
We're idealists, and whether it's a 5-year-old who's struggling or a 35-year-old turning around who's trying to get it together, we root for our students.
Yes, we do.
Past, present, and future.
Right.
And so I think there's a lot of resiliency that we're seeing, but it's tested the bounds of our idealism this year, and not our optimism. We're not cynics. We're not cynical.
Yeah.
But it is hard these days, and I would imagine it's the same in hospitals and other real essential spots where we're helping people.
These teachers are really, they're not in it for the paycheck.
No.
They're in it for because it's who they are as a teacher. They genuinely love what they do, and their goal in life is to make a difference and teach our youth.
It's why we're here, and I don't know if you've been able to see some of the check-ins that our director of communications, Josh Allen, and I have been putting together. These video updates we're sending out about what's going on in the schools. This is stuff we wanted to spend the whole year doing. We haven't been able to do it as much as we want. But even during all of this COVID crazy that we're dealing with, as you said, this massive distraction, right? We are still trying to showcase the incredible stuff that's happening every day.
I never saw my little girl's kindergarten room, and I still haven't seen her first grade room.
Yeah.
It's a bummer.
Yeah, you could argue. So your daughter's first grader?
First grade.
Okay. You could argue strongly. I had a meeting with the first grade team up at Barrytown, veteran staff, veteran crew up there, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago. It was a really powerful meeting I had with those guys. And they were sharing that if you think about a first grader in the fall of 2021, what their school experience has been like, you guys, since the pandemic started. They were in preschool.
Yeah.
The year it all started, they're not even going to remember that stuff,
Sure.
a lot of them. But kindergarten, first grade has been all masked up, hybrid, virtual.
They're seeing these shields.
It is. We don't know the impact this is going to have.
No, we don't.
We don't know it. But what we're
And
finding,
we won't until we do.
Correct. And we got to be prepared for it.
Yeah.
From a mental health aspect, from just being behind. We talk a lot about catching kids up. We don't even know what that means yet.
That's right.
You're
right.
Our ninth graders coming in, what their whole middle school experience has been like.
Yeah. In school and out of school, socially.
Exactly.
I mean, it's massive.
Exactly.
Listen, these kids are going to be 90 years old, and they're going to remember this. They're going to be talking about it.
Hopefully stronger
Yeah.
as a result.
But they'll always remember this. Like my mom always remembered having their World War II drills where they had to hide under the desk.
Yep.
Our
Remember,
kids
it was legend talking to folks.
Yeah,
Remember, really?
This
Wow.
is legend.
This is our legend.
This is history right now. That's happening.
It is.
What's a typical day like for you? I know that's a funny question, but how many hours are you putting in? When do you get it? When do you punch out? Do you ever punch out? Do you have a punch clock?
No, not really, but none of us do. It is a 24/7 gig, and the last thing I want to do on this show is complain about how many hours a week I'm working. I knew what I was signing up for, and it's not a whole lot different from when I was a principal, or for that matter, grading papers late into the night and early morning. I remember my wife up and at 'em at 3 o'clock grading English papers. It's what we do.
Yeah.
But it's the nature of the 24/7 now that I think is very different. But I think one of the things that I'm going to hazard to guess made me appealing as a candidate to be the superintendent when we were in this pickle last spring was that I do know the community and people know what my energy level is like. You probably noticed I don't sit still just sitting here.
Yeah.
I get my energy from talking to teachers and kids. I've been really trying to be as present as I can be. I started my day up at our new C program, meeting with their team up there, the Spalding Educational Alternative School right here in Barre for kids who've been struggling.
God bless them.
They're kicking butt right now. I'm so proud of what they're doing amidst this crazy. But this is the stuff that gives me my fuel. Just trying to meet with our teams in person. A lot of it is correspondence. Trying to keep up with the email. And folks, if I haven't responded to your email or message, it is pretty all-consuming and overwhelming for a lot of us.
I need to
say
the same thing.
Sorry,
but that statement from you is like that statement on steroids. I mean, I can't even imagine what kind of emails you're getting.
I've tried to pride myself in being a responsive guy. It's kind of leadership 101 in education. You got to be responsive. You got to even the hard stuff, and it is not easy to stay on top of it. To give thoughtful response. It's one thing to say right back, thank you, gotcha, but to really listen. And it has been a struggle for me, for our principals to really, and I bet for a lot of our teachers too, to when folks are in duress, they want to be heard.
You've had teachers stand in front of you with tears in their eyes.
Oh yeah.
Many times, I'm guessing.
Oh yeah.
And parents. Students.
Yep. And it's people. But I don't want to kind of gloss over stuff because what you're talking about is real and daily real. But I I am also seeing these incredible victories that we're getting done every day. Just our pre-K programs, who are so understaffed right now, answering that bell and providing this incredibly warm, safe, loving environment for these littles. Because this is school for them. This is their introduction.
Yeah, of course.
At the high school level, all this stuff
Yeah.
that we're seeing. And it's...
and keeping them laughing.
Keeping them laughing.
Just keep them laughing. And you have to have an alter ego, I would guess.
Oh, yeah.
You have to have multiple personalities. You got to be the fun guy, but you got to be.
You do. I've had to with a few of my colleagues say, hey, listen, one of my coping mechanisms for dealing with pressure and duress is to have a sense of humor. Sometimes, as you know, with anybody with a sense of humor, that can go haywire, right?
Yes,
so you got to be careful. Say, missed that one. But I do think it is a stress relief. It is for me.
Yeah.
And but everybody's different, JD, and how they manage this stuff. Parents too.
How do you manage? Honestly, Chris Hennessey, the man, the partner, the father, and quite honestly, even if you didn't have a partner, and even if you didn't have two daughters, even if you were a bachelor, how do you manage your own mental health when you leave at the end of the day and you get in your car?
Yeah.
I'm guessing that I don't know if your cell phone is on or off. I don't know how. I don't know how if you ever stop fielding calls and emails and everything. But I'm envisioning you either getting in your car and blasting either classical music or seeing you drive down the road, blasting some AC/DC on the highway to hell.
It's all over the map. It's all over the map. And I'm deaf. I'm a music guy, and I listen to it loud in the car. Our high school principal, Brenda Waterhouse. Brenda, if you're watching, I'm going to give you up on this, but she's a big heavy metal fan. Has it set up on Sirius XM. Spalding kids, you should know. Mrs. Waterhouse is a big metal fan, and not pop metal either. I'm the hard stuff. But I think to answer your question, I'll be as concrete as I can be. I'm a very fortunate man. I have a wonderful relationship with my ex-wife, and she and I are tight, and we are raising our daughters. Great year to be an empty nester, by the way, I must say, because again, going back to what it would be like with young children.
Yeah.
And my partner and I, we're both educators. We know what our life is like. She's the curriculum director at Harwood Unified Union,
Yes.
and she's in the weeds too, and we hold each other up, all of us, our family, our non-traditional family. And I am very lucky in that I have some very close male friends, and who most of whom have high pressure jobs too, not in education, and we look out for each other. We talk to each other today. We talk smack with each other and about sports, whatever, and I've got connections with people, and that is what is getting me through. And I try to have connections in a similar way to many of my colleagues too, for them to see the human side of this work and who I am. I make a big deal about, it sounds kind of like a cliche at this point, but self-care. Like, folks,
no. That's not a cliche anymore.
no, but like, oh yeah, you got to take care of yourself. No, you got to take care of yourself, and I model it. I took a day Friday to drive to Maine and have dinner with my daughters, and I didn't hide it. I made a big deal. This is what I'm doing, and I encourage you guys to do the same thing. I'm going to try to be off the grid. If we don't do it, we're not going to make it, JD. We're not, but I think it's important we're transparent about that. And also for our families, you guys got to give yourself a break too and find out ways to do that, which is so hard with little ones when they're home.
And then when you have that time, if you can stay awake.
Right.
Honestly, with all the mental stress, the physical stress too, but there's so much mental stress. But I mean, do you go? What was your summer like? I mean, do you camp?
Yeah. So I'm a big. I'm going to give a big shout out to Green Mountain Community Fitness. They give deals for educators. Just so you know, they have saved my bacon. That place. They're on weeks where I have a lot of night meetings or commitments. I go early in the morning. I make it it's as important to me as eating breakfast and brushing my teeth. So I do that. And I play in a senior baseball league. I've not this year because it's all shut down, but I have years involved in community theater.
Yeah.
Try to have a balanced life. And I believe strongly that you can put in those 60, 70, 80-hour weeks and still do that. You got to. You got to.
Can you shut off the phone and binge watch?
Not a lot of
My
TV
Big
watching.
Fat Greek American Wedding? I mean,
But it is. October's the cruelest month for me because I'm a baseball nut. So I'm, it's playoff season, and I'm these late games. Geez, it's brutal.
Atlanta or Astros for you?
Okay, this is a controversial approach.
We're shifting gears.
One of my very close friends who lives across the street from me is a baseball nut like me, and he grew up, born and raised in Houston, Texas.
Okay.
So he and I got behind the 17 Astros in a big way, and the call's coming in right but I am an Astro nut. I grew up a Red Sox fan, so when they were playing Houston and the Red Sox last week, obviously I was all in on Boston, but I'm okay with this Astro thing. I know I'm in the minority. It's rare I'm behind the villain, but I'm going to get behind him, and I'm going to have fun the next week and a half.
Don't stay up too late for those games.
I doubt I will, but I'm going to get behind him.
Questions that are coming in. Will they offer vaccinations in school when it's available?
Yep. So where we're at with that, this is all very new. What we want to do is support this vaccination effort. And I mean, what we're hearing now, as early as next week, this could be approved to go. This is going to happen fast.
Well, then you got the 5 through 12.
The 5 through 12, exactly. And that's a little bit different bringing your 5-year-old than it was bringing your 17-year-old in. And I say that as I'm very much pro-vaccination, but we have to understand this isn't going to be easy for everybody.
Logistically and otherwise.
Everything. Yeah, right. Exactly. Like, we're not going to just walk down with the kindergartners. So right now there is an effort, as I understand it, and this can change, but to provide vaccination sites at the schools around the state. How that's going to work, I do not know. I was just talking about this with some folks yesterday, that to have that going on during the school day would be very logistically challenging. So how do you do that? Maybe I don't know if you recall, folks, but when we had the vaccination clinics in March, we shut down the school. National Guard was here, and we want to avoid having to do that, and for many reasons. But maybe we do it on the weekends, like we've had the clinics, and set it up in a very thoughtful way, because it's not going to be easy for the littles. It's not.
No, not at all. Emotionally, it's going to just kind of throw them off.
But we're on board. We're on board to do it right, as long as we can do it right.
Yeah. I mean, when you say the S word to my little girl Lily shot, that's a big deal. It's big deal. Big deal. Your nurses everywhere across the whole district are saying that a vast majority of positive cases are among pre-K students through 8th graders. There's real concern here. Yep. I mean, look at these numbers, man. Yep. I mean, we have the cases are up, hospitalizations are up, deaths are continuing in Vermont. Just yesterday, Vermont reported over 1,100 cases among fully vaccinated people in the course of a 2-week period. 29 vaccinated people hospitalized over that period alone. We've got breakthrough deaths that are happening. It's all over our phones. It's on our computers. It's in our face constantly. These are really stressful times.
They're stressful times. We've got, the numbers are well known, and we don't hide them. We have among the highest positive cases coming into our schools for kids and adults. In
New Hampshire, Vermont, and Colorado are the 3 biggest states right now.
Who'd have thunk? So, and Barre is right in the thick of it.
Yeah.
So how do we respond? So what we're doing, there was... I think one of the biggest I might even say the biggest controversy that we've been facing is this whole notion of contact tracing.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you and I are 11 years old and we're in a class together and we're working together during the day, mask up or not, we're still considered close contacts. And in that If I test positive, you, JD, have to quarantine for X amount of days. This is driving people bonkers because we're trying to get a handle on doing it in a way that does good, that it's a balance. And we have to follow. We have to follow those requirements. But there is a lot of worry that sending sometimes hundreds of kids home.
Hundreds. Oh yeah.
Is it doing more good or bad? And it's a balancing act we're trying to follow. I know I struggle with it. If there's something I lose sleep over, and I did last night after we had a case of Barrytown last night, it's that notion. And we were thinking that we were coming out of the weeds. We're going to really pull back as a state on how we were doing contact tracing.
Yeah.
But then the cases started to fly up with kids.
I know.
And it put the AOE and the Department of Health in a corner, and understandably, and we've been having to respond. But yeah, it is alarming. Saying otherwise would be I'd be disingenuous.
And we understand the frustration level. I'm a parent.
Yeah.
You're a parent. We get it. But just try hard to think. Put yourself in others' shoes before you speak.
Yeah.
Go to the gym and beat the crap out of something, but just
I did this morning.
Yeah, I mean, just try to think about what it is that you guys are going through. I can't imagine being a school nurse right now, having one kid after another that I have to call their parents at work and say, you need to leave work, you need to come home, you need to come get your kid.
This is the stuff that
your kid has a cold. We're not letting them back into school until there's been a negative test.
I know.
What a pain in the butt.
It's a pain in the butt. And I think about my own father, like when I was a kid, you're going in, it's just, that whole thing. And that was how I grew up.
Same deal with me.
Same thing with my daughters growing up. No, ladies, you're going in, you're okay.
Right.
But those days have changed right now.
Yes,
the stakes are higher. So we have to be really careful about it. And that is an area where we've struggled. I'll just be candid for folks listening out there. We continue to have too many kiddos coming in with symptoms, and it's tricky. What if you got allergies? What if you've got and it's there's so many gray areas.
And you get a headache just because you have a headache. You got a cold
fault.
because it's just a cold. It's just
fault.
Congestion.
But your question about our nurses, I'm worried about everybody right now.
Yeah,
but that crew, they're the ones I think I might be most worried about. We brought in 2 brand new nurses at Barre City, who are just kicking butt, doing amazing work, but they're new to being school nurses in this. And being a school nurse at a school of 900 kids, that's a tough gig on a normal day. And so we're dealing with all this stuff. So principals, Mr. Kuhn and Mr. LaFlamme and Miss Nye and Miss Pearson up at Barrytown, they're stepping in to have to help out with all this stuff just to make sure we can do our normal day-to-day stuff. And it just stretches everybody like taffy.
Yeah, of course.
Of
course. We have a monitor in front of us that is not functioning properly. So we are not able to see a lot of the questions that are coming in, unfortunately. But I'm getting a note here from Raylene that there are a lot of questions coming in. Raylene, are you over there? You do have a mic if you want to throw some of them.
I'm just really glad people are watching.
Yeah, absolutely. Raylene's watching some of these comments that are coming in, and there are a ton. Chris Hennessey, the superintendent of the Barre Union Unified School District.
Got it.
One of the busiest guys that we know.
Okay, so one of the questions is, when vaccines are available for children, will the school offer them at the school so that they are easier accessible to parents?
Yeah, we just talked about that a little bit ago. It's not going to be easy, but
our plan is to the Agency of Education, Department of Health, are very interested in having that word that the community member use, accessibility. It's super important that it's accessible. I mean, I think about it as an educator. When we went in March, it was great to be able to go in, have the National Guard run that.
Right.
The question is logistics, people, all that. Who's doing it? When are we doing it? But whoever put that question in, I'm going to reiterate, we are all in, all on board. We just want to make sure we can do it well. remembering this is going to be a different level of stress for a lot of families and the kids too.
And the next biggest question is, with the state currently pushing for an emergency again, is there a backup plan? Is
Yep.
there a plan that
Yep.
will soon be discussed with the community at large so that
Yep.
people can start getting ready
Okay.
themselves?
So I assume that what the caller is asking about there for a backup plan is some sort of return to remote instruction. I'm going to try to give a very brief history lesson here about this, but during the state of emergency last year, when we were schools were having to shut down, we had plans where kids were home either full-time or part-time. We called it a hybrid model, where kids came in 2 days a week, did remote learning the other 2 days a week. There was a massive deployment of devices to kids in the community. I was with my colleagues driving around in my Suburban, door to door with these things, and it was an awesome way to connect with people who we really needed to connect with. But I want to be clear, it was a huge undertaking. Right now, I don't know what the Agency of Education is thinking about. I know they've been very clear since the summer. There is no return to remote learning. And if anybody who has to do it, those days aren't going to count for attendance, which really boxes schools into a corner. Now, if a state of emergency were to return and they were to start considering that, we got to remember, this had a huge impact on families. That was like everybody home. Teachers had to pivot their modes of instruction. We did it. Was it ideal? Did we lose a lot of learning in the process? Sure we did. I candidly don't see us returning to that. I do think what a lot of families have talked to me about is, hey, if my kid's got to be home a week, can we up our game in what we're providing for them? That's been incredibly challenging because teachers are still teaching during the day. Sure. It's a logistical thing, a complex thing. I think we're going to have to wait for guidance. I know a number of community members have been asking that since the summer. What's the backup plan? Right now, if we got to pivot, we did it before, we can do it. I sure hope we don't have to do that.
Yeah, you really don't want to.
We really don't.
What was your night like last night when you saw this press conference surface?
I think I led off with this. I'm always in a place of empathy. So Governor Scott, if you're watching, I had great empathy for you because you're probably getting it on all angles. This is the thing.
You can relate to that.
I can relate to it. There are people who really, I'm talking across the spectrum, think about how we should deal with this. Open up the schools. Everybody, if they get sick, that sort of stuff. And others who really want, it's unsafe for anybody to be in schools now. We should be fully remote and everything in between. This is what the governor's dealing with. It's what everybody is right now. And us being a public school, we've got to do our best to meet the needs of everybody. Not easy, but we're doing it. We're doing our best as much we can.
I said last year, I don't know how Lily's kindergarten teacher was doing it with
littles especially.
10 kids, 12 kids. Johnny, sit down. No, Sally, yes, you can go to the bathroom.
I was never a kindergarten teacher. I never taught at the elementary level. I was an elementary principal and learned so much from these folks when I was in Montpelier. Yeah. But it's a different world. Sure Pre-K is a different world. But talk about, when we talk about how our brains are rewired now, right? There's great danger in rewiring these little brains if we don't have them with us.
Yeah. Big time.
That's my big worry.
Do we have another one?
We do. We have a couple, and a couple of them want to touch on things other than COVID, if that's okay.
Is there such a thing?
What?
Other than COVID.
I'm here, JD, because I'm taking on whatever people want to ask me, including you. I mean, I'll do my best. This is.
I want to know if you've grayed more.
Keep this.
The salt and pepper
keep
going.
This
on
going.
Right.
This wasn't as white a year ago, but I bet a lot of people have got the silver going in the temples. Don't we all?
Pappas and I were having a laugh about that.
Oh, I bet.
Last week. You go right ahead, Raylene.
So we have some questions coming in regards to bullying and harassment and how that's being addressed and the mental health of overall of students and how things are being addressed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and these kids struggling with their social emotional lives is not new to COVID. Obviously, I in fact started my career in Barre working exclusively with kids, an alternative setting at Spalding with kids who I had to help teach how to manage that stuff at a very basic level because they didn't have that when they were younger. They had other issues going on, and but it has been without question exacerbated in the last 18, 20 months. And what's going on now, we've got a kind of a perfect storm. There's a whole process and protocols and procedures around bullying and harassment issues when kids are mean to each other, when they cross that line.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, our goal is to get ahead of it, right? Is to, one, teach kids how to treat each other, how to treat their space, how to treat their teachers.
Prevention.
It's all proactive, preventative stuff. With the staffing shortages we're facing, the Barre District right now is down 17 paraeducators. We're down behavioral interventionists, support staff. Not an excuse, just the reality. So what that does is it stretches thin our ability to deal with the small stuff. And I was a principal for, 14, 15 years, and sweating the small stuff is incredibly important.
Yes,
and
it is.
It is. And you want to teach kids in their advisory groups, their TAs, how to work together, how to learn together, how to be resilient. A lot of that stuff is stretched thin now. So we get into these situations where the stuff that would have been normally a little thing gets bigger, quicker.
Yes.
It's a huge worry of mine, and of our principals, and of a number of parents whose children are experiencing this stuff. It is across the board a national issue right now.
Pre-COVID, it was.
Pre-COVID it was. I always felt... I can speak mostly to my own experience at Barre City Elementary when I was there for 3 years with my partner Hayden Kuhn and Pierre Laflamme, who succeeded me. We worked hard on sweating the small stuff. Were we always successful? No. We brought in teams who could help the kids and their families with this stuff. They're stretched thin now. The caller who brought that in, it's on the forefront of our minds, but I would be being dishonest if I said we're not stretched thin in this area now, and it's a big worry for people.
Wow.
So this is my own question in regards to that. Is this where school resource officers are super important and really, truly make a difference?
They certainly can. I think I'm going to give... I have got to give a shout out to my longtime colleague, Corporal Fleury. Jason Fleury is a man who, regardless of where you are in the political spectrum around policing in our community, this guy...
human being first and foremost, above all things.
Human being with our kids, and with me and our colleagues.
Sure.
So to me, I've worked in schools back in the day with security guards, with resource officers who worked in a much more traditional law enforcement role. My 3 years at Barre City, it's just not that way, folks. And this, to me, is a model of what a school resource officer can provide for a community. The man is he's a miracle worker, and I don't want to lay it on too thick here, but again, he does work in the community that builds a bridge, I think, for our kids, to the police department, to actually just the community in general. And that goes for the parents too. And he's got to deliver some bad news to some parents on occasion.
Of course he does.
But how he does it on the most human level, he's had a huge impact in Barre City for decades, and worked really well with me, Hayden, and Pierre in terms of really focusing on that preemptive.
Do we need a few more Jason Fleuries?
Well, I think that, do we need more of them? This is a case... We need more people like him in a variety of different roles. Could Spalding High School benefit from a Jason Fleury? In my time there, I worked with some awesome school resource officers, and who took that approach. Ladies and gentlemen who I highly respect. And that, to me, though, is the approach that needs to be taken. The school resource officer in Montpelier when I was there, exact same approach. Corporal Nisley over there, Matt Nisley. I don't think he's there anymore. I hope he's still working with kids. And how many police officers have you met in your life where you think, man, I hope that guy, that that lady's working with kids.
Yeah, right.
This is what we need. It's not about, I want to be clear, it's not a law enforcement thing in my mind. Leave that up to the principals, the assistant principals, the behavior specialists. It's that bridge to the community. A lot of our community is struggling with a lot of different issues.
Sure.
Again, I think about the gentleman who sat in this seat when Craig, who was here. I can guarantee you, if he had Jason, he'll remember him.
Yeah,
back when he was a kid.
Isn't it? It's amazing how you need everyone in your building, from your cafeteria folk to your janitors. You need everyone to be first and foremost above cleanliness, above food, above everything. The kids come first, in your relationship with them. It has to be paramount. And so, like you talk about custodians. I had interviews with a few custodians this summer who I needed to meet with for a specific nothing big deal. But I decided with these guys who might have struggled in their background, like, let's walk the campus. Yeah. Let's talk about why we're here. Yeah. And really getting to know these guys and seeing this guy. I feel good with this guy working in our schools. He's got to be able to relate to kids and share a joke or something.
Oh yeah. The custodians at Barre City, John Walker. I can't. Same thing. He coaches in the community. He has relationships with his kids. His own boys have worked. His own sons have worked in the schools. It's all being part of the community, JD.
Sure. Yeah.
Whatever it is, we're all part of the same community. And Don Lassard at Spalding, same thing. That's what helps me. I know these people, and I respect them, and they're here to serve. They're here to serve our community, our kids. That's why they're doing it.
Yeah.
Nobody's getting rich.
No, I know that.
Yeah.
I know that.
So one other most popular question would be, for kids that are having to go home and quarantine for lengths of time, is there a way to link a camera to their classroom, if you have a classroom that has several kids out, so that they can actually be present in the classroom for that school day
and see and hear.
And hear.
Yep. There are a lot of issues. There's I could go down a lot of roads with this one, and this has been a struggle. I know some districts during, I don't know if any are doing it now, but I know during the first round of COVID last year, we're attempting some of this. There's a lot of privacy issues that come up with this, and there's a federal law called FERPA. You may have heard of it, Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, that really makes that problematic. And I think if you were to interview a number of teachers, they may say, we can do this, we can get it ready. There's also, that FERPA thing is a real backbreaker for this one. There's also the technology piece. To have that up and ready in all of our classes, I can just speak for Barre. We don't have the resources for that.
Yeah, they're buried as it is.
And there is, I'll speak for myself as a classroom teacher. I mean, I'm already struggling an hour into this, sitting in this seat right now on camera. Yeah. That's how I'm wired. Yeah. I know the best teachers aren't standing and delivering. The classroom is a setting where you might have, in a 50-minute block, 10 minutes of that.
Yeah, right.
But then you're moving and grooving around the room.
Of course.
And then you got privacy stuff. Is the camera following, seeing what kids are working on? It's very complex. I get the concern. And then you could have there was talk of having teachers record a lesson, but then you get into your double dip. You're already stretching these people.
Sure, yeah, right.
Hey, I wish it were easier.
We know how that you've got to get back in and put out some fires. But do we have one more?
That's it. That's pretty much the majority wrapped into a few.
And there's others coming in, which in your spare time, I'm sure you'll get a chance to.
Yeah, look, and I said this. This is important. I want to be, and I know our principals feel the same way. We want to be as available and open as we can be. I've never been the guy who said, hey, look, I get so many emails and phone calls. I don't know if I'm going to get to these.
Sure.
We're trying. But another thing you can do is that, we have a school board meeting Thursday night, for example, and there's always a public comment section that Sonia, Ms. Spalding, who's been on your show,
yes.
she leads that off. And if you want to come in and speak to the board, I'm obviously always there. It's a good opportunity to kind of hear what's going on and share what's on your mind. We encourage it. We're trying to set up more listening sessions / community forums over the course of the year. Having to do these meetings in a remote way makes it super hard.
Sure it does.
But we want to do that and get the community as involved as we can. I mean, I just want folks to, one of my big goals this year, JD, is to improve lines of communication and be out there for people so they know what's going on, so that they can ultimately see, even in the midst of this most challenging year of my career for sure.
Will be.
And I hope it is. I hope it doesn't get worse.
Yeah.
But that our schools are assets. That what we're providing for our kids is essential. It's an asset to the community. We want you to know what's going on. Yup. It's a huge source of our tax burden, of course. But to switch gears and not look at us as much as a burden, but as an asset. And that's my job. And that's what I want to do.
You have a huge set of shoulders on you, my friend.
Yeah.
Loving
it, more or less.
It's amazing. We're so blessed to have somebody with an attitude like this as superintendent, and it doesn't always have to be this way. But man, are we blessed to have you?
I really appreciate that. I'm going to give it my all as long as people have me.
And take care of yourself too.
I will do.
And
JD, this is a pleasure, and maybe I'm up for coming back when we get closer to budget time, and
please,
and keep Josh and I.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Whole other beast.
The whole school budget thing. That's another day.
But every budget tells a story.
Yes,
your home budget, right? Your business budget, it tells a story, and we're trying to create that story of what your money's going to, and I hope the community is seeing on Front Porch Forum these videos we're sharing.
Yes.
And
is that where it is? Front Porch Forum.
Front Porch Forum. We put them on every. I try to get everyone on. I mean, I think we've got them all on, but you can access right at our website all of them, and they really do show the little guys, middle school, high school guys, what's happening.
Wow. Superintendent Chris Hennessey.
Thank you, everybody, for having me.
If you see him driving down the road, windows up,
banging
his head and screaming "Highway to Hell," you know that it's Chris.
I'm not talking to myself. I'm just singing, folks. I'm just singing.
God bless you.
Thank you.
And we know that you're going to be heading back to school now.
Heading to Barre City now.
And watching very carefully what the governor has to say.
That's at noon. Watch it, folks.
High noon today. We all have a responsibility to be watching that.
We need to know what's going on.
To what's happening.
Yeah, and have some empathy for him, too.
Yeah, sure. Yes, understatement there. Very much.
If you're watching, Governor.
Thank you ever so much for coming in.
Pleasure, JD. This is a great opportunity.
Let's do it again. Salvador and Babbitt, Infecto Homes, two of our presenting sponsors, along with Barslow Construction, Granite City MMA, Preston's Kia, Gothier's Quality Grounds and Maintenance, Wood Doodles, Wright Electric, Donnybrook Fight Promotion, the Barre Montpelier Times Argus, Vermont Custom Woodworking, ASB Financial, retirementvermont.com, FGB Theaters, the Barre Area Development, Central Vermont Chamber of Commerce, and Green Mountain Mulch. Chris Hennessey, the superintendent of the Barre Unified Union School District, an absolute honor and pleasure to have this very busy man on our show today. Yeah, man.
Thanks for helping me get through it.
Yeah. Be well.
All right.
We'll catch you again real soon.
Thank you.
Over and out for now. Thanks again.